What's going on, guys, and welcome to today's video. And today we are finally finishing up some of the last few items here on the gray 04 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, kind of our third edition of, saving all the WJs, the WJ rescue mission, whatever we're calling this thing. Now this one wasn't ever that broken, so it wasn't that exciting for you guys on camera, but it did get some cosmetic stuff. This is the one that had the little dent in the front crash bar area, and I didn't even really get to show fixing that because I just pulled it out by hand. It was such a light little bend on the side of that front crash bar that it did nothing. I did have to source a front bumper cover from the salvage yard, and it is the wrong color. That is light khaki, and that is dark slate gray. I'm wanting to paint this thing to match, but I cannot find a dark slate gray paint that really is probably going to match, and it'll probably end up looking worse, and that's why I haven't done anything there. So that's why the bumper doesn't match, but we do have a couple of final things. Like I said, this thing's pretty much done. We've got our 2-inch lift, we've got our Wrangler wheels, we've got some 31-inch Falcon tires. It's been awesome. I've almost put 2,000 miles on this thing since I've, gotten everything sorted out on it. We had the oil leaks that we took care of with the rear main and the oil pan gasket. It's just been a good Jeep. It's a 4-liter Jeep. You're always relatively safe buying a 4-liter Jeep versus a 4.7 WJ because of motor things, and 4 liters just kind of a safe bet. These things have been bulletproof, and this one's been great. But today we are going to take care of a big cosmetic thing that I've been wanting to do, but it's been 100-degree plus here for weeks and weeks, and that is the headlights. If you didn't see these things, I've already got them pulled out, and they are sitting here on the engine. So what we are going to do now, yes, you can buy WJ headlights pretty darn cheap on eBay, but you also can refinish the factory headlights, and that just basically consists of sanding down that hazy finish and polishing or continuing to sand down to a lighter and finer grit paper until they are nice and shiny. Now, yes, will they haze again in the future? Yes, absolutely. You have kind of sanded away any of the UV protection that might have come from the factory that was sprayed on them. Will cheap eBay headlights not fade? No, they're also going to fade. Will it take a little bit longer because they maybe have some sort of UV coating on them? Maybe. It's just a gamble. But if you can save yourself some money and make the factory headlights look perfect, then why not try it? So today I've got a BG Headlight Restoration Kit. I thought we would go and look at this. Now, I have already used this on the silver 04 Overland Jeep, and no, I didn't do it on camera, but I hate really showing you guys stuff if I don't even know what I'm doing. So I did them, like I said, on the silver 04 Overland Jeep, and kind of figured out how I liked doing it or not, so I can show you guys what I've found. So real quick, jumping into this BG Headlight Restoration Kit. Now, there are tons and tons and tons of brands of different headlight restoration kits out there on the market. This is just one local. BG is a local company. I like supporting local companies, I guess, when I can. So I kind of thought I would show you everything in here. Now, kind of starting off, you have a very, very coarse sanding block, and that's going to be used for getting that initial layer of yellowness or haziness off. Then we've got two different coarsenesses, if you want to say, of wet sandpaper. We've got 1000 grit and 600 grit. We do also have, which I thought is kind of cool, we do have some kind of masking painter's paper, if you will, and a decent roll of masking tape. And we've got some alcohol prep wipes, we've got some nice white towels, and last but not least, we do have a headlight restoration sealant. Does it necessarily say it's UV protectant? Yes, it actually does. Protects headlight lenses from UV rays that deteriorate plastic. Sprays on easily and dries in 2 to 4 minutes. So yes, it actually does say, I hadn't read the back of it before now, but yes, this does in theory kind of work like that factory, you know, UV sealant or protectant did. So they should last longer with this clear coat on them than if you just left it, you know, like it was if you just sanded. Now I will say, when I did the silver Jeep's headlights, obviously you start with the most coarse sanding first, that big sanding block. If you've got a lot of oxidation, you move to the 600 grit, and then you move down to the 1000 grit. Per the instructions, it tells you to do that, and then you would spray the sealant on. But I wasn't in love with how deep or how heavy some of those scratches were. Yes, I'm sure that sealant would have filled in a lot of those fine scratches from that 1000 grit, but of course I can't leave anything alone. We've got to do everything just a little bit extra. So I ended up going to Lowe's, Home Depot, whatever, your local hardware store, and grabbing some 2000 and 3000 grit sanding paper. This is wet sanding paper, obviously. But as you guys will see later, I, you know, used the BG stuff that came in the kit and then stepped down to the 2000 to the 3000 to make it almost perfectly glass, and then sprayed that sealant on there. The kit does come with tape and, you know, that masking paper. Some vehicles, the headlights are not easy to remove. You know, a lot of vehicles, you've got to pull a front fascia, pull a grill, pull a lot of stuff. These Grand Cherokees, it is popping the hood, pulling one bolt out, and then the headlights pull out. So I chose to remove them, doing them on the ground. Obviously, if you've got a vehicle that's horrible and not fun to pull a headlight on, you'd be doing it on vehicle, but I like the thought of not really worrying about sanding near paint and scratching paint. So that is what we're doing. So guys, I've got my bucket of water here. I'm gonna throw all of my paper in. I've got my 3000, I've got my 2000, I've got my 1000, and my 600. Now, yes, this BG kit, like I said, came with that heavy block, but I don't think I'm gonna need it on this one. This thing is pretty darn smooth. You know, the Silver Jeep's lights were really, really bad. These ones are, yes, very hazy, but there's no roughness. So I don't think I'm going to start with that crazy heavy, you know, sanding block. I'm just going to jump in with the 600, and we'll wet our headlights down. And what I kind of like to do was do kind of in theory one way with one piece of paper, and then the next, you know, lighter sanding or the next lighter grit go the other direction. And then you can kind of see once you've got all of the, you know, all of it worked out, if that makes sense. So like I said, we're starting with the 600, and you know, we've got the paper wet, we've got water on our headlight, and we are just working back and forth. And just trying to do relatively even pressure. And just, yeah, this initial one, we are just trying to get any of the kind of heavier oxidation off of this light assembly. And guys, once you think you've kind of got a decent, you know, coverage with the paper or with the 600, you just keep moving to finer and finer sandpaper. You're just trying to, you know, reduce the scratches that you put in with the previous steps, you know, paper. And guys, like I said, we're just moving to finer and finer sandpapers. These lights aren't looking as good as my lights on the Silver Jeep. So I obviously should have done the video with those. These ones look like they're almost like a little cloudy inside. So I don't know, you know, I believe these are factory, but the other lights, just man, they really ended up being super glassy and clear, but these have to look better, right? And then finally, we are gonna jump down to the 3000 grit here. Okay guys, so I thought I would kind of show you the kind of midway point here. This one we've done the sanding on, and it kind of, the longer you spend sanding and going through those steps, the better your results are going to be, versus kind of what we started with. Super hazy, can't really see what's going on. This one still has a teeny bit of haze to it, but these lights, I'm definitely gonna say, are in a lot worse condition. I don't know if you guys can really see, there is a bunch of small little kind of, I don't know if you wanna call them little cracks or what, but the lens itself pretty deeply has scuffing or scratching or cracking. But I did notice when I did the last set, after spraying the kind of sealant on there, it really kind of glossed them up, made them shinier, clearer, all of that stuff. So I'm gonna cut the video real quick, work on that other headlight just so you guys aren't watching the exact same process of me going through heavy paper down to really fine grit paper. We're gonna get both of them cleaned up. I'm gonna get some of the sealant sprayed, and then we'll take kind of a final look and see what our results are. All right guys, so I got the second headlight done, and I did go back to the first one and kind of just kept going over and over and over with that 3000, because I think the more time you spend in trying to get it as perfect as possible will only just help to have the best the best results at the end of the day, and that's what we're going for here on these 20-year-old Jeeps. So here's what we've got, and honestly, they probably look better on camera here than they do in person. In person, yeah, the camera just really kind of doesn't show it. There are still a bunch of little small, you know, just kind of micro scratches from the sanding process, obviously, but you gotta say, they look a ton better. And we still haven't put the, you know, the clear coat on them. But yeah, how it looks for you guys looks even smoother, glassier, like I said, than in real life. So the results are, again, looking even better here on camera. But let's get these things thrown on the ground, and then we'll get the clear coat UV protectant on and see how that turns out. So guys, now that we are in the paint booth that is just the sidewalk a few feet away from the Jeep, we are in our perfect painting environment. All right, so our UV protectant sealant here, per the instructions, we are going to do a decent even coat. We're gonna let it sit for 2 to 3 minutes, and then we will hit it one more time. All right, so now that we've waited our 2 to 3 minutes, we are going to hit with our second coat here of the UV stuff. Now it does say if you are in low temp or high humidity to use a heat gun or blow dryer to kind of help the drying process. I don't really know if I'm in either of those, but I'm definitely going to use a blow dryer to use even more things here. All right guys, so I've got my second coat of the UV sealant protectant stuff on there. Now, it does leave like a teeny bit of a texture to the finish instead of it kind of being perfectly glass smooth. I'm not sure it's going to pick it up on camera, but that stuff does leave a teeny bit of texture. I'm not in love with that, but if I can give up a teeny bit of smoothness for the UV protectant lasting longer than if you didn't have anything, then I think it's probably worth it. But again, here is our final product. Running out of daylight outside, so I brought them in here. Again, it's gonna be kind of hard to tell on camera. We've got reflection from the overhead lights, but this one definitely looks better in person. This one, gosh, there's just some yeah, there you guys can see in the lens, there is some cracking kind of spider webbing going on, and I don't think any amount of sanding is going to get down deep enough. The previous headlights definitely did not have that in the Silver Jeep, but even if this is as good as we are going to get, I mean, come on, that's like so much better. Now, would perfect brand new headlights be clear? Yeah, probably, but I've spent very little money here making the current headlights look like they do. And do you even need to buy a kit? No, probably not. The kind of the main thing of this is just sandpaper or wet sandpaper, getting, you know, heavy grit and going down to fine grit. Now, I don't know what is in the magical UV protectant sealant. Is that kind of the cool thing about buying a headlight restoration kit, is hopefully the sealant making it all last longer than if you didn't have anything? Probably yes. The masking tape and the kind of masking paper, if you were having to do it on car, again, definitely a positive on buying a kit, or at least this BG kit. I can't really speak on any of the other kits since I've only messed with this BG kit. But let's get one of these headlights at least thrown in so we can see a final product here on the gray Jeep. Well guys, there it is. Yeah, I know we're kind of running out of daylight. I don't know if you guys can tell or not, but it is getting dark. But hey, I've got a clear headlight, and that was a lot more than I could say this morning when I started the day. Well guys, I guess that's kind of it. Thanks for coming out in the garage with me. And if you've got yourself some nasty yellow headlights, before you go and buy a new set or a set of aftermarket lights, maybe think about a headlight restoration kit. No, it doesn't need to be the BG kit, but it does seem to work well. Like I said, I did buy 2 more sheets of wet sand paper, 2,000 and 3,000 grit, just to get it even more finely finished before we sprayed that UV sealant on there. And I don't know guys, to me that looks pretty darn good for an hour or so of work, and hopefully with that sealant it's going to last a little bit longer than if you didn't have something. So guys, thanks for coming out and working on the gray Jeep with me. We are kind of almost done with that thing. The last thing I need to do is probably do a, I would like to show you guys my paint correction skills. Like I said, I've done it one time on the Silver Jeep, but try to do some paint correction on that thing. It is pretty scuffy, scratchy, and then it's probably gonna have to go off to its new owner, get listed on Facebook, and find its new home. So guys, I'm sorry if this was a lot of talking and not very much working. I was trying to explain, and I end up over talking like I am right now. So thank you guys, as always, for watching, and we will catch you guys next time.